22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1251B, and today's date is April 10th, 2017, and the title of the episode is The Deep State's Next Move Will Shock the World. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, as we can see, things are really heating up around the world, and we can see the deep state, the neocons, the central bankers, they are really pushing their agenda all over the world, not just in Syria, but everywhere. They want this war very, very badly. Now, we can see right now that there are reports that they're making plans in respect to Kim Jong-un. And we know that this is a hot button for Trump. We understand that they don't care where they start this war because all the players are the same. Now, we see that they're trying to have Trump make a decision on options with North Korea. We know that the USS Carl Vinson, the strike carrier group, is on its way into the area. We understand that the missile systems have been placed in South Korea. We understand there was a drill going on in South Korea with a huge tank brigade, a lot of soldiers. And guess what? Every time there's a drill like that, they normally end up leaving the equipment there for another reason. And we can see they're deciding, should we assassinate Kim Jong-un or should we place nuclear weapons in South Korea? Now, this is what I'm getting out of all of this. One, they're going to try a covert operation to remove Kim Jong-un. Try to remove him from his position, which then they can go into North Korea because they'll say, and of course they're not going to go in with troops. What I mean by that is that they're going to go in there and have regime change. That's the whole point of this. Now, if that doesn't work covertly, I think their next phase is, well, they're going to place nuclear weapons in South Korea. But there's a reason for that, because their next phase is to have some type of an event to allow these nuclear weapons or conventional ground troops, conventional bombs to be used in North Korea. And we could see that they are definitely preparing for something like this. Now, China, they are deploying right now about 150,000 troops to the border of North Korea. Now, this is not to attack North Korea. They're doing this as a safeguard because what they are realizing is that the deep state, the central bankers, the neocons, they are prepared to go into North Korea. And they're worried about the spillover into China. Remember, what they're trying to do is they're trying to pull Russia, they're trying to pull China into this war. That's what this is all about. They want a great war, and this is what they're trying to do. Now, we can see there's a lot of government officials, not just here in the United States, but around the world, who are telling us, well, we need to go to war. And we see Trudeau in Canada says the path to peace in Syria doesn't include Assad. Now, he is calling for the removal of Assad. So is Turkey. So is some of the politicians here in the United States. So is Israel. And, of course, all the Middle Eastern countries that have been trying to remove Assad all along. But we see there are other voices out there, like Representative Tulsi Gabbard, who visited Syria and said, well, everything doesn't really add up. Most of what she has seen out in Syria is that the people, they didn't want the terrorist groups. They wanted Assad. The terrorist groups, that's what they were afraid of. And they were happy when the terrorist groups were removed from their city, their town, their village. And Tulsi Gabbard right now, well, she's out there saying, well, we really don't know if it's Assad who did the chemical attacks. And at face value, well, it doesn't look like it. We should have some type of proof. Shouldn't there be some type of an investigation? And she says, I remain skeptical because of my visit out in Syria and what I've seen and what and the people I've spoken to. It makes no sense. Now, the Democratic Party is out there. How dare you not work with our narrative? How dare you? And they're actually calling for her removal. So if you don't agree with the neocons, the Democrat, the Republicans, the deep state, guess what? We don't want to hear from you, and you need to be removed. Rand Paul is out there. He is also demanding evidence of the chemical attack. Now, think about what has happened here. There was a chemical attack, and the United States government, Trump, decided to fire 59 Tomahawk missiles without an investigation. First of all, doesn't anyone think that's odd? I mean, even in a murder case, they just don't lock someone up. There's an investigation, and they're calling for an investigation. Now, personally, I don't think there's ever going to be an investigation, because if there was an investigation, guess what? They're going to find out that Assad didn't do it. This is why they'll never let the investigation happen. We see there was a former British ambassador to Syria, Peter Ford, and he refused to go along with the BBC propaganda on Syria, and he dropped a truth bomb live on air. Now, fed up with the state-sponsored propaganda from the very start, Peter Ford dispensed with niceties and disagreed on every level possible with the very first question put to him by the BBC host. Referring to claims that Assad is responsible for the chemical attacks in Syria, the BBC host said, "That's a statement of fact, right?" He said, "Wrong." He said, "It's a complete myth. It's a statement of non-fact." He says, "What's needed is an investigation, because there are two possibilities for what happened. One is the American version, that Assad dropped chemical weapons on all his people. The other version is that an ordinary bomb was dropped and hit a munitions dump where jihadis were storing chemical weapons. We don't know which of these two possibilities is the correct one." And he said, "I don't leave my brains at the door when I examine a situation analytically. I try to be objective. And based on previous experience, including Iraq, we can see that we cannot take at face value what the so-called intelligence experts tell us when they have an agenda. Remember weapons of mass destruction? There were no weapons of mass destruction. WikiLeaks is out there saying they have proof that the U.S. orchestrated chemical weapons attack in Syria. Well, we've looked at the situation, and we know that this was a false flag. We're looking at all the evidence, and there needs to be an investigation. Russia is also saying, prove to us that Syria gassed their own people. Just show us the proof. Don't show us the victims, pictures of victims, because that is not proof. Show us the link that they actually did this. So far, the Sun article about all these canisters in front of the hangars, that turned out to be false. As of right now, the United States government central bankers has produced no evidence whatsoever that a gas attack even happened. Nothing. McCain is out there, and he's saying, well, Trump hit the airbase. It really didn't do any damage. Jets are flying once again. This is not a good signal. We need to bomb more. We need to go in and invade Syria. Now, the Trump administration, they are demanding Russia to stop supporting Syria right now. And we could see that Tillerson was supposed to meet with Lavrov and Putin, and it looks like that meeting might be called off right now. Now, Israel, they were notified ahead of time of Trump's Syria strike. And we can see right now that Israel is very involved in all this. A lot of it might be orchestrated by Israel. We also see about this document that was exposed yesterday, and Reuters published it, and many other news organizations published it, about Iran, Russia, Syria, about all of them together with Joint Operations Center. And it turns out the Russians are saying that, I don't even know where you get this, there's no such thing as a Joint Operations Center. And in one section they said, there's a part where it says the United States is crossing a red line. And if they cross this red line, well, we're going to have to react. And they're saying that we never use these terms. These red line terms, they come from the West. Israel says it, United States says it, and many other countries use this, but Syria, Russia, Iran, they never say these type of things. Now, what we're learning is that this document is completely fake because, number one, there's no such body as the Joint Operations Room, and the context appears to exist, nor has it ever existed according to any source dating from the beginning Russian involvement in the civil war in September of 2015 in Syria. And we can see right now that this whole thing is completely fake. Now, what happens a lot is intelligence agencies like Mossad, MI6, the CIA, they create these things and they put it out there. And a lot of times what happens is they make it look good, they make it look real, and they put it out there to push their agenda. And this is what we're seeing right now. Now, Turkey is out there, and they're making the statement that a no-fly zone could have prevented the Assad chemical attacks. Now, here we are already. They're preparing, and it's all the same zone. They can call it a stabilization zone. They can call it a safe zone. They can call it a no-fly zone. This is what they always wanted. Now, Turkey is making the push. We know that Tillerson, Trump have been pushing for these zones. And we can see right now, this is what they really want. They want to separate Syria. And they're going to be pushing out a lot of fake information. The intelligence agencies will then forward this information to the corporate media. The corporate media will put it out there. We see that they're pushing the idea that Assad is now using phosphorus. He's using napalm as terror weapons. And of course, this is something that the United States would do. This is something that the terrorists would do and have the terrorists do. This is something that Israel has used in the past. They have used phosphorus weapons. And we see right now that they're really pushing this agenda. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to build this case. And what Trump has done at this point from all of this is he got rid of the whole entire Russian collusion thing. He placated the deep state. He placated European NATO members. The mainstream media is going along with him. Is this part of a plan within a plan? Is he part of the neocons? It doesn't really matter at this point. Who really cares? Because he's going to do whatever the deep state wants. He's not going to do what the people want. The people didn't want war. The people didn't want to go into Syria. The people didn't want any of this. And what we're seeing right now is that either the deep state has something on him, they're blackmailing him, or he was always part of this entire operation. But we need to understand something, and we need to be very clear about this, is that the deep state never gave up control of what was going. Yes, we had an election. Yes, we said, okay, we want Trump or we want Clinton, and Trump won. Does that mean you actually had a choice? No, because the deep state, the central bankers, the neocons, they were always behind the curtain. They were always calling the shots. That never changed. And I think people in their minds, they thought that it has changed. It never did. And what happens is these leaders always bow down to them one way or another. Now we're getting information that there's another red line. And if Assad uses barrel bombs, of course, phosphorus is okay, napalm is okay. But if he uses barrel bombs once again, like they said in the past, which he never really did, that was all fake, phony, and false. What they're going to do is they're going to strike more into Syria and most likely try to go to Congress and try to have them vote on war. Now, these are the scenarios that I think might happen. Now, what Trump has done right now is he is getting Congress to ask questions. There are certain individuals in there that's saying, shouldn't we have an investigation before we declare war on anyone? And why were we even there? Now, there are others in Congress, like neocons, Democrats, those who work for the deep state, the central bankers, who just want war. War, 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 let's do it. So it looks like right now, before we go further in Syria, there should be some type of vote in Congress to declare war, because the president cannot declare war. And we can see right now that Syria has never attacked the United States. And we know for a fact that the deep state neocons, they don't want Congress to investigate anything that had to do with the Syrian chemical attack. Now, if it does come down to where the entire Congress is going to vote on what we should do, the central bankers will not allow them to vote for no war. What that means is they will create an event to push Congress into voting for war. This is what I am saying here, is that their next move is going to shock the world, because this is when we see the big event. Now, what they're doing, they're taking no chances this time. They want what they want and what they always wanted, and that's war. So they're going after North Korea at the same time they're going after Syria. We know that they're preparing for something huge in North Korea. Now, if they can't get Kim Jong-un out, they have the backdoor approach of trying to go into North Korea, but they just can't go into North Korea. So they need a false flag, an event to get them inside of North Korea. And we see right now that they are pushing the idea that something could occur. This is why they've been telling you about the missile systems in North Korea. And right now, the North Korean missile systems, they're not developed. Now, again, this will be a false flag where there could be some type of cyber strike. There could be some type of missile strike, but it will not come from North Korea. It will be fabricated. They'll tell you it came from North Korea, but that's not where it came from. And we can see right now that they are preparing for this. Now, they're preparing to go all the way because they will never allow Congress to do anything but to vote for war. And the only way to get them to vote for war is to continually push events, to push them in the right direction. And the next couple that are coming up are probably going to be huge. And remember, they're doing all of this because they understand that the economy is falling apart. They understand that they need to do this quickly. This is why we see such a big ramp up of all of this. So if this goes to Congress, and of course we're going to see Assad cross all the red lines because it's already prepackaged. They've already decided this is what it's going to be. They're going to try to push Congress into voting some type of war package where they can say, yes, we can go into Syria full force. This is why they're ramping up the soldiers. This is why they've been building the bases. This is why they've been bringing in the C-17s. This is why they've been doing all this all along. It didn't happen yesterday. This has been building for a very long time. All the troops, all the military assets, they are already there. This is how it works. Same thing in North Korea. All those drills that we had with the tank brigade, with the personnel in South Korea, we see the strike groups are already there. This has already been pre-planned. That radar system they brought over to North Korea to monitor their missile system, that's there for a reason. All of this is there for a reason because they're taking no chances, because they're trying to get all the players together and they're trying to bring us to a place of war. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.